Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam hormat. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second Research Methodology Webinar 2023. I'm Suhaida Sulaiman, your MC for today. Yang berbahagia, Professor Dato, Datin, Tuan-Tuan, Puan-Puan, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Research Management and Postgraduate Centre, DRB-HICOM University, we are very excited to have a group of speakers to organize a webinar in collaboration with City University Malaysia, Universiti Malaysia Kelantan, Universiti Sains Malaysia, Scholars Volunteers Group, and Doctorate Support Group. For your information, this event is hosted live via FB DRB-HICOM University of Automotive Malaysia. To begin, please allow me to invite Yang Berbahagia Ustaz Zulhairi Izhan Anwar to recite the dua. Please welcome Ustaz.
Thank you. وقال ربكم ادعوني أستجب لكم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. O Allah, we gather here to express our gratitude to you for allowing us to attend the Research Methodology webinar on this auspicious morning. In conjunction with this event, we ask your help and guidance. Make the days that we've gone through with guidance and end with the victory of excellence. O Allah, kindly give us strength and courage. Let our efforts as a means to enlighten, to convince, and to gain the excellence in various fields. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, please bless us with your tawfiq and hidayah. Please guide us to greatness, peace, glory, and prosperity in this world and the hereafter. Make us a responsible intellectual. Granted us with a valuable knowledge that will be beneficial to mankind in order to gain your mardatillah. Make us your righteous servant that followed your commands, and please forgive us for our wrongdoings. Kindly bestow blessings, physical and mental health, fitness of mind, peace of mind, and strength of spirit in this meeting and gathering, and prevent us from harm and unfortunate events. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Ameen, Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Thank you very much, Yang Berbahagia Ustaz. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very grateful to have our Vice Chancellor with us here today. So next, without further ado, let me invite Yang Berbahagia Professor Dato' Surveyor Dr. Osman, the Vice Chancellor of DRB-HICOM University of Automotive Malaysia, to deliver his opening speech. Please welcome Yang Berbahagia Dato'.
Thank you, Suhaida. Terima kasih, Suhaida. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. Pertama kali izinkan saya memanjatkan kesyukuran kepada Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala kerana dengan izin dan limpah kurnianya pada pagi ini kita dapat bersama-sama untuk sesi pertama, the second Research Methodology Webinar 2023. Salawat dan salam ke atas junjungan besar Nabi Muhammad SAW dan juga kaum keluarga baginda dan sahabat-sahabat baginda. Dear participants and also panelists for today's event, let me extend my heartfelt gratitude to the Research Management and Postgraduate Centre at DRB-HICOM University for extending an invitation to me to deliver a short opening speech for this year's Research Methodology webinar. It is actually a privilege and an honor to be among such esteemed guests and participants for today's event. Let me extend my warm congratulations to RMPGC and the co-organizers, namely City University Malaysia, Universiti Malaysia Kelantan, Universiti Sains Malaysia, the Scholars Volunteer Group, and our new partner, the Doctorate Support Group, for their collaborative efforts in organizing this event. Such collaborations are instrumental in creating platform for the exchange of knowledge, expertise that will benefit both postgraduate students and academicians too. The fact that this webinar is being held for a second consecutive year signifies a commitment to providing postgraduate students with a platform to enhance their skills and knowledge in the fundamental concepts of research and its methodologies. Throughout this program, participants should gain insights into understanding the nature of the problem to be studied and identifying the relevant area of knowledge. Participants will also learn how to review existing literature to understand the various approaches and solutions to the problem at hand. And furthermore, participants will be equipped with the necessary skills to collect and analyze data in an organized and controlled manner, enabling them to make valid decisions for the purposes of their research and their own. I would also suggest the issues of AI and ChatGPT in understanding and taking on your research is also discussed by panelists and students. I'm also pleased to announce that students have the opportunity to register for a micro-credential certificates by attending all the sessions and completing the corresponding assessments with a small fee for administrative purposes. This additional incentive adds value to the learning experience and encourages participants to actively engage with the content further on. This webinar will take place every Saturday for the next 5 consecutive weeks, starting from today until the first week of August. A bit of weekend time to be spent for the pursuit of knowledge. I encourage all participants to make the most of the opportunity to enhance their knowledge, ideas, and experiences. And by so doing, you will gain a deeper understanding of the nature of the problems you are studying and researching, and identifying the related areas of knowledge that will contribute to research endeavors. Dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, the second research methodology webinar serves as a stepping stone towards expanding your intellectual horizons. It is a unique platform where knowledge, ideas, and experiences converge to fuel the advancement of research. I'm confident that the sessions ahead will be engaging and enriching, providing you with the valuable insights that will positively impact your academic pursuits. Professor Muhammad Hassan Osman, Professor Roslina, Professor Ame, and Professor Sofri are distinguished academicians that will enable you to take advantage of their wealth of knowledge and their willingness to be together ever on with the postgraduate students. Thank you very much, my dear professors. Once again, I extend my gratitude to the organizers for their dedication and efforts in making this webinar possible. And to all participants, I wish you a fruitful and enlightening journey throughout the 5 weeks together with us. DRB-HICOM University is set to serve the postgraduate community in Malaysia and beyond. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Walaikum salam warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Yang Berbahagia Datuk, for your wise words. Ladies and gentlemen, the objective of this webinar is to build a platform to postgraduate students to enhance their skills and knowledge in some major concepts of research and its methodologies. This webinar session will be held for 5 consecutive weeks, every Saturday starting from July 2023. So please allow me to share some program. Okay. All right. Okay, can all of you see my slide? All right. So a little bit of the background. So the second methodology, the objective, as I have mentioned, the format online webinar conducted in 5 sessions, held consecutive over 5 weeks, starting today, the 8th of July. Participant count, currently we have approximately 1,900 plus participants. And the organizers, this webinar is organized in collaboration with the City University, Universiti Malaysia Kelantan, Universiti Sains Malaysia, supported by Scholars Volunteers Group SVG and Doctorate Support Group Facebook. So the opening session 9 to 12 and weekly session from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. and we have a break from 2 to 4. The webinar session, for a glance through, today, 8th of July, we'll be having the opening session and introduction chapter by Professor Dr. Muhammad Hassan bin Muhammad Osman from DRB-HICOM University. On 15th July, we'll be having the literature review by Professor Dr. Rosalina binti Ahmad Saufi and Dr. Nur Ullah Khan from Universiti Malaysia Kelantan. On the 22nd of July, it will continue by Professor Dr. Rosalina bin Ahmad Saufi and Dr. Nur Ullah Khan from Universiti Malaysia Kelantan, still on the topic of literature review. On the 29th July 2023, the research methodology will be conveyed by Professor Dr. Sufir Yahya from Universiti Sains Malaysia. And finally, on the 5th August 2023, the result and discussion will be conveyed by Professor Dr. Muhammad Hassan bin Muhammad Osman from DRB-HICOM University, and conclusion and recommendation by Professor Dr. Amir Hamzah bin Jantan from City University Malaysia. The micro-credential certificate. So this is an optional, but we also do offer to obtain the micro-credential certificate for the research methodologies. Students are required to make a payment of 100 before the end of the webinar. Upon payment, they will receive their certificate after fulfilling certain criteria. And the main criterion is attending all 5 sessions of the webinar and to complete an assessment for each session. The advanced workshop, this will be held in September 2023, research analysis software workshop, SPS, Smart PLS, and NVivo. The research analysis software workshop focuses on the usage of software tools such as SPSS, Smart PLS, and NVivo for research analysis. These software provide users with powerful tools to analyze and interpret data, conduct statistical analysis, and explore qualitative data. Please note that an affordable fee will be charged for each session. Okay. All right. So for those who yet to register and also would like to share with other participants out there, the register link is as seen, and we could also share the posters once again. With that, I thank you. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the moment we have been waiting for. Chapter 1, Introduction. Let us all welcome Professor Dr. Muhammad Hassan bin Muhammad Osman to convey the session. Please, Prof.
Thank you very much, Thank you very much, Prof. Suhaida. Yang berbahagia, Profesor Dato' Omar, our Vice Chancellor, DRB-HICOM University, Professor Dr. Ong, or my boss, actually, my immediate boss in DRB-HICOM University, Prof. Sofri, whom I've known since when we were both dean of, he was the dean of USM Business School, Graduate School of Business, and I was the dean of UTM, Azman Hashim International Business School. We traveled together, we did a lot of discussion together. So I think it's good to be able to work together in this particular session. Please drop a chat message or a message in the chat box if you can't hear me clearly. I'm a little bit worried because normally in my area, I'm staying in Bayu. During the weekend, everybody's at home, everybody's turning on their internet connection, and everybody is watching Netflix and whatnot. So the connection may not be a little bit stable. Yeah, good. Thank you very much. The voice is clear. And I also would like to welcome all the participants to this research methodology webinar 2023. And also I would like to thank DSG, our doctorate support group, for, I think they are responsible for bringing in about half of the participants into this particular session. And I hope all my former DBA students from UNITA, all 300 plus of them, is in this session today. This is a good session, especially for those of you who just started your research dissertation. And please be patient and stay for the entire 5 sessions, which will be broadcast live through DRB-HICOM University. And I will share my experience. I've been an academician for the last 39 years, short of 1 year to become short of 1 year to be 40 years of experience working in the public and private sector. My experience as a PhD student, I completed my PhD in 2002, right? 2002. I was in Loughborough University. I will share some of my experience, although it's been quite a Jurassic experience long time ago, but I think it is still relevant in a way that there are things that you or we or everybody can gain from that, right? Now, interestingly now, when I started my PhD, I searched for my supervisors. I traveled, I drove out to other universities to find who could be my supervisor. I do not bother about the universities. I'm more concerned on the supervisors, all right? And I started out, my PhD research was supposed to be on neural network, right? I'm trained as an actuary, so my specialization has been on quantitative techniques. And I didn't even bother to find out about the qualification of my supervisor. I got so excited. He came all the way to UUM. He was the British Aerospace visiting professor at UUM at that time. It was in 1996. I met him in UUM. I was so impressed with his knowledge. He was an expert in the area that I would love to go into. Because initially when I started, when I want to go into neural network, I realized that I couldn't find a good supervisor. I tested a few of them, I couldn't find a good supervisor. And I was very much into entrepreneurship at that time, right? I was involved in setting up the UTM MBA, the MBA in technology entrepreneurship. We call it techno entrepreneurship. We were the first to coin the term in Malaysia, in fact. And it was the first MBA they able to come out from UTM. It was 1996. I was called by Prof. Dr. Abazam, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Hassan. We just came back from Cranfield University. We would like to work with Cranfield University. Can you please form a team to set up the first MBA program in UTM? So I got to work. And while researching about technology entrepreneurship, I became very interested because all my life I've been very interested in entrepreneurship. I funded my study when I was in UITM by doing some part-time businesses, and I was able to send back some money to my mother. Right then, and then I realized, oh, that's where my interest is. So, tip number one: when you're doing your PhD research, please find something that is passionate to you, or you are passionate with it. All right. Please focus on something that is very passionate to you, close to you, very dear to you, because you're going to face a lot of hardship later on, and you're going to face a lot of turbulence, you're going to face a lot of ups and downs, but because of your passion in the area of research that you are focusing in, you will persevere and you will succeed. That is my experience as a PhD student. And the best part is when I started my PhD research, then only I started looking at my supervisor's CV, because at that time we do not have even we only communicate by email. I never bothered to search because I was so excited with his expertise, and I asked a few people in UUM. They say he's the best. So when I started my PhD research in Loughborough University, I was so surprised he doesn't even have a PhD, right? And interesting enough, his specialization research is in qualitative, and I'm more in quantitative. So then I realized, now what should I do? I mean, one thing I learned is that I talked to him. I said, Graham, this is quite a conflict because my strength is quanti, your strength is quali. Can we bring someone else into the team? So finally, we brought in Dr. Dave Coates. He's a mathematician, a statistician, to assist in my my supervision. My supervisor agreed, and finally, that's the best part. I'm into both methods in my research, quali and quanti. It was tough for me, right? Because I've been quanti all the while, and when my supervisor says, Hassan, your quantitative data is not rich, because my research was on high-tech SMEs in Malaysia. At that time, MSC, multi-status company, was quite new. I was looking at growth of this company. I couldn't find enough data of companies that has sufficient 3 years sales data. Most of the MSC status company were just started, right? They were just started. And I need 3 years of sales figure. I couldn't get it from them, right? Because they only have 1 year or 2 years. And finally, out of 340 companies that I surveyed out, I only got about 81. And Graham said, Hassan, your data is not rich enough. We need to follow through by qualitative research. So I felt like the sky is falling on my head. What? Qualitative research? I've never done it before. It's totally new to me, right? I mean, I'm more on the left side of the brain guy, right? Now I have to be the right side of the brain guy as well. But when you're doing your research, your PhD research, whatever your supervisors suggest, do not say no at the first time, right? Say, okay, I accept the challenge. It was tough, yeah, it was tough, but I accept the challenge. And at that time, I remember the book that I spent a lot of my time reading was by Yin. Yin did a book on case study, and I realized that almost every PhD student who are into qualitative research were carrying the book. All right, so I bought the book. It was quite expensive at that time, and I read from I can memorize the page number at that time. I read from first page to the last page, I think about 10 times. I was trying to understand what qualitative research is all about. So lesson number 2, you must manage your supervisor. Say, I do not allow Graham to decide things for me earlier, because when I say I want Dave Coates to be my co-supervisor, that means I'm managing him. I don't trust him because his strength is not in quantitative. All right, so I discussed with him. I suggested, I went around looking around, and finally I'm happy with Dave Coates, and Graham agreed. So we brought in Dave Coates. So you must manage your supervisors. Okay, get him to agree. You must have good negotiation skills when you are discussing with your supervisor. This is a good skill that I learned when I was doing my PhD research. Now it's very important how you are being supervised. When later on you become a lecturer or an academician, you supervise PhD student or DBA student, you're going to use the same method. All right, you're going to use the same method in your supervision of your students. You're going to inherit his style, and That's what happened to me. Now, and Graham is a very detailed person. He will proofread my write-up. I remembered I submitted my my first draft. I started 1 month, and I changed my research focus 6 times. I started out, I want to study Technopark in Malaysia, right? I want to see what are the issues that they face, what are their...
Sorry, Prof.
Yes.
Sorry, Prof. Interrupt. Can you off your WhatsApp in your laptop? Because your friend give the message, then there is a WhatsApp sound.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay, sorry, I didn't hear that. Okay, let me close everything.
Right, thank you, Prof.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Ong. Okay, hold on, let me get back to where we are just now. Now, okay, now I'm just sharing you my experience because I'm giving you a background of what I'm going to discuss today, right? Now, you have to manage your supervisors no matter what. Do not wait until your supervisors manage you. What I mean is that, right, set your appointment with your supervisors. Fix the date earlier. Do not wait for him to call you up. Hey, Hassan, where are you? You've been missing for the last 2 weeks. I want to see you on blah, blah, blah day. Right? Don't do that. Try to make that, make that, avoid that, all right? You must supervise, you must manage your supervisor. You set the date. Prof, are you free on this date? Okay, can I see you on this date, this date, this date? Sit with your supervisors and let them agree with the term of reference. I mean, set the objective. You have to set whatever guideline that you need to work with. Make him agree. If he agrees with you, then it's going to be easier in terms of your supervisors students relationship. That is very important. Okay, I even tried to find out what is his liking. I found out that he likes durian, but I can't bring durian on the airplane. So what I did was, when I went back to Malaysia, I brought him some lempok. He was so excited. Yeah, he was so excited. During Christmas, I visited his family. I brought. It's about creating good relationship with your supervisors, right? When I was supervising my PhD student in UTM, you know where we spend our time. We did our supervision at Taman Kinabalu. All my 10 PhD students flew to Sabah. We went to Mount Kinabalu Park. All right, their own expenses, they don't mind. And we sat at the foot of the Mount Kinabalu. We had a very good discussion because the surrounding really opened up the mind. Okay, so that is my. I will share you more tips as we go on. Now, my role here is to introduce research. I know there are two types of students, or two types of PhD or DBA or even master students in this session today. One group is those who are about to start research, and the other group has started research. Maybe they are really about to present their proposal, or they've already collected the data, analyzing, or they already analyzed, and now writing up their research, or some of you are preparing for your Viva. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide my presentation into 2 parts. The first part is for those who are just started going to research, and I will share some of the tips as an examiner. I've been a PhD and DBA examiner for the last couple of years. I think about more than 100, yeah, PhD DBA examination, Viva and whatnot. And I've been a supervisor before. I've been a PhD student before, and I've supervised DBA student before, and I've been working with some of DBA students in my previous university, UNITA, UTM, UNK. So basically, I think there are tips that I can share, and also the following speakers that will be coming in, and I'm sure they too will be sharing. I think what you want is actually experience sharing. See, initially when I was preparing my notes for today on problem statement, so I went to the SG support group. I found out that there are more than 60 over sharing on what is or how to formulate the problem statement. So there's a lot of tips in there already. Okay, you just type problem statement or formulating problem statement in DSG. Okay, in the search site, you see a lot of tips already in that. Okay, it's a matter of, you don't have to go far. Okay, in DSG support group, I noticed there's a lot of information there. There's a lot of issues. There's a lot of sharing, which is very, very useful. In fact, Promnal Zaidi, a good friend of mine, is frequently sharing, yeah, his experience, his thoughts there, and it's good also to follow him and a few others, yeah, who are very actively sharing. Okay, let me move on. Let me share my slides. Not used to using Zoom. Okay, now where is the slide? Okay, got it. Share it here. That's it. Let me put it on slideshow. Now, for today, I'm going to talk about introduction to research, and with two focus. One, for those who are just started on their research work, and number two, for those who are into research and you are preparing your write-up and everything. Then that I will share on what constitutes a good chapter one, right? Because I've been examining quite a number of PhD theses in this station. There's a lot of frustration, and my number one complaint is proofreading. Once I returned back a thesis from one university because the proofreading was really bad. Okay, I hand back the thesis. I say, I'm not going to evaluate this thesis until this particular student has done his proofreading. Okay, I won't tell you which university it is, because it's very irritating reading a thesis which is not being proofread. So before you submit, please proofread and get a professional proofreader. See, my mistake was when I submitted my thesis, before I submitted my final draft, I sent it for proofreading. You know who I sent it to? My sister-in-law, who is an English teacher, right, in Malaysia. Right, so I thought, oh, being an English teacher, she should be able to go through my thesis and proofread. When I sent it back to my supervisor in the UK, you know what he says? Get another proofreader. Right, so finally I got a professional proofreader in the UK. I emailed her my thesis. It took her about a month to really proofread. Sent it to my supervisor. You know what he did? He proofread further the proofreading done by the professional proofreader. All right, until he's happy, I'm happy. I submitted my final draft. If you read my thesis, this is comment made by some of those who are referring to my. I got 4 PhD students already use my thesis as a sample. Example, he came back to me, probably said the English is excellent. Of course, it is excellent because this is my supervisor's English. Yeah, he did most of the proofreading. So I don't want to be like him. It's very tiring, right? Correcting your students' thesis and whatever. So that's the only part that I do not really emulate his style of supervision. Okay, now let us move on. Okay, so if you're new to research, right? Doesn't matter if you're not new also. Now, I got a simple question here. Perhaps you can put it on chat. Now, oh, sorry, my mouse is too sensitive. Let me put the chat out now. Now there are four activities here. Now, do you consider activities 1, 2, 3, or 4 as research activities, or are these research? If you feel that one is doing research, just type in your chat 1. Or you say none of them, just say none. Or you say, if you feel that 1, 2, and 3, yeah, 1, 2, and 3 is research. Just put it on the chat. I want to see how many of you here are quite, okay, we have 1, none, no, okay, that is none, 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 all right, none, 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 none. Okay, good, all right. Okay, we're getting something here. Now, all are research. All right, okay. Now, actually, the answer is none of this is a research activity. It is an activity, but it's actually, if you take it separately, they're not research specific. Now, why are they not considered as research? Now, this is very interesting because most of my presentation today will be based on my guru, Professor Saunders, Saunders was actually a lecturer when I was doing my PhD in Loughborough University. He is considered as a business research method guru. I had the opportunity to attend his classes, attend his talk. I did a lot of discussion when he was in Loughborough before he moved to Birmingham University. So basically, he was my guru, and I'm very much when I teach research methodology in QTM, I refer a lot to his writings, right? So now, so if you say that this is not research, so what is research basically? Now, if you go further, I move the slides. Click here. Okay. Now, let me share with you 4 definitions of research, which I think quite interesting enough. According to Neil Armstrong, he's not the researcher, but in a way, when he said research is creating new knowledge, he hit the spot, right? And I add further, and new practices and solutions. So if you're a PhD student, yes, research is creating new knowledge. And if you're a DBA student, research is creating new practices or solutions, right? While creating new knowledge, or if there is a need to create new knowledge. So in a way, as you can see that through research, right, there's a lot of new ideas coming in. Without research, we won't be exposed to all this new technology, EVs, mobile phone and whatnot. It all started because of research. Now, we have one, Professor Raywin Cornell. She is from University of Sydney. She said research is something that everyone can do and everyone ought to do. It is simply collecting information, one, and thinking systematically, right? It is collecting information. You have to collect information. How you do it, we can discuss later, but it is simply collecting information. You must have information. Now, in other words, some people will go to one step behind, you must collect data, right? Data is actually information which has not been processed yet, right? You must collect data or you must collect information, and you have to start thinking systematically, right? I think Prof. Sofri will be coming in and he will be talking about design thinking in literature review. It is a good exposure for you guys. Please stay for his session, and you're going to benefit a lot, yeah, from his session in the afternoon. And then we have Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He wrote this in one of his Sherlock Holmes book, where he said it is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. It is true. Before you come up with a theory, you must have data. You must have research in order to come up with a lot of theories before this. All right. And Professor Saunders, my guru in research methodology, he says that it is a process. Research is a process that is undertaken in a systematic way. So what we see earlier, the 4 examples that I showed you, where most of you said done, it's true because it is not done in a systematic way. Okay, and with a clear purpose to find things out. So if you look at the 2 phrases together, you can see that he talked about systematic way and to find out things. So if you want to find out good things, you must do it in a systematic way, and then that's where research comes into play. All right. So I'm not going to go into further discussion on what is research, because most of you are now into research. You should know what research is about. It's just that you must ensure that when you conduct your research, it must be done in a systematic way, and you want to find out something, not just for the sake of doing it. Okay, move on. Now, this is something which I normally encounter when I supervise PhD students and DBA students. I had to switch. Right? I had to switch from DBA to PhD because I see there is some slight differences in, not to say slight, there are some, to me, there are some major differences in supervising a PhD student and the DBA student. I cannot use the PhD way in supervising the DBA student and the DBA way in supervising the PhD student, because PhD is actually a research doctoral, whereas a DBA is actually a practice doctoral, and that is why it's called professional doctorate. So for those of you here, I noticed that some some people in here with the title DR, so I suspect they are academicians. Please be a little bit careful when you are supervising DBA students or PhD students. If you are a PhD candidate, you got your PhD, and supervising a DBA student, you have to be a little bit extra, not to say extra, you have to be a little bit, in the way of supervision, you have to be a little bit different when you're supervising a DBA student. So I had to switch between DBA and PhD. When I'm with a PhD student, I supervise them differently from supervising a DBA student. But in terms of context, in terms of knowledge of research, still the same. It's still the same. Okay, so when you talk about basic research, this is where most PhD students will come in. The purpose is to expand knowledge of processes of business or management. We're talking about this business research. Result in universal principle relating to the process and its relationship to outcome, is finding of significance and value to society in general. In terms of context, undertaken by people based in academic. This is where mostly people from the academic side tend to go for basic research, for PhD research, and depend. If you're doing business research, it's mostly basic research. If you're engineering, mostly it's on the other one, the applied research. Choice of topic and objectives is determined by you. You have a flexible time scale. Initially, academic community and researcher, you want to create impact to academic community and researcher, and may also impact policy and also practice. But when you come to applied research, right? I know when I was in UTM, we had this the MBA project. We tend to classify it as applied business research, right, rather than research per se. And the purpose of applied research is to improve understanding of a particular business or management problem. Okay, and it normally it results in solution to problem. If you are a DBA student, I think you'll be more interested in applied research. You may introduce new knowledge, but it is limited to the problem. It's not limited to the general overview. And findings of practical relevance and values to managers in organization. Even in, I think I'm not familiar with the doctorate in education. I think it may be in the same context. Okay, it is undertaken by people based in a variety of settings, including organization and also academia. Objective negotiated with the originator. In other words, you go and negotiate the objective with the person who is facing that issues or that problems. And it is of a tight time scale. Remember, DBA research, you have only 2 years, right? Whereas a PhD, you may have 3 years to complete. And impact initially policy and practice community and researcher, and it may also impact academic, right? Now this slide I think will be shared, so you can look at the, but you can also go to this a book on business research by Professor Saunders. You can find this table in there, right? He sourced it out from the sources that I stated below the table. Okay, now so. You decide, all right? And I've been telling my DBA student that basically, when I was teaching doctorate seminar in business, I had to spend a lot of time with them in coming up with the problem statement. A lot of time for coming up with problem statement because they are not in the academic world. They are not used to it, right? So I had to link them to what is happening in the industry. What are the problems? What are the issues? How do you find solution to that problem? Solution to the issues. Whereas in the PhD, it's a bit different in the sense that now what are the gaps in knowledge? What are the gaps in theory? Can the theory be proven or can the theory be refuted? How do you criticize the theory? How do you come up with a new theory, for example? Is there a way to improve on the theory? What are the gaps in research, for example? All right, so that's why I say there is a little bit of differences when it comes to supervising a PhD and a DBA candidate, right? Okay, now how do you, when you start doing your research, and this is the problem that I think most of you face. What am I going to do for my research? This is normally common among the DBA students. PhD, I think should be no issue because they've been doing their PhD research. They've been doing a number of research. They got a number of research grants. They've been doing research earlier, so it's quite easy for this. I remember when I went to when I was doing my PhD, I got two other UUM lecturer being supervised by my supervisor. One of them is Masharif. I can't recall the name of the other guy. They came prepared. Yeah, not me, yeah, because I started going into this research focus only when I submitted my application form. But they have been doing this research, the area that they are in, when they are in UUM. They really got a research grant, they did the research in that area. So it is a matter of enhancing that particular research when they came for their PhD in Doctorate. Really got some of the literature review up and running. So they were better prepared. Right? They were better prepared and they did quite well in that sense that they finished a little bit early than me, right? Because they came prepared. So for those of you who are thinking, especially if you're an academician going into for your PhD research, apply for a research grant, right? Do something which is going to be pertaining to your PhD research, and you can carry on in your PhD research. It helps a lot. Yeah, it helps a lot. And it will make your life easier. Okay. Now, for your information, when Graham Bookop actually supervised 5 PhD students, all from Malaysia. One of them is Dr. Ismail from UiTM Basmet. I forgot the other guy, Dr. Ahmad Dan, also from UiTM Basmet. I was number 4, number 5. The moment myself, I was the last one to finish under him. The moment I finished my PhD, I went back to Malaysia. He sent me an email, Hassan, I'm not going to supervise any more students, especially from Malaysia. I've now registered with Sheffield University for my PhD research. He's about my age, actually. So finally, he finished, and he got his PhD after producing 5 PhD students from Malaysia. But now you can't do that in UK. They will not allow that anymore. A supervisor must have, a PhD supervisor must have a doctorate, right? But why was he able to supervise us? Because he is a widely accepted in the industry. He is an industry expert. People refer to him. He worked for so many years in Lloyd Bank, and he also conduct research for Lloyd Bank, right? So he understands research. He knows research, but mostly qualitative research. So having a supervisor that understands research, although he do not have a PhD, we realized that he also helped us a lot. Okay, he was instrumental in guiding me in doing my qualitative research. So he asked me, because I had to triangulate my research. My quantitative result was not rich enough, so I had to triangulate it with a qualitative research. And I really appreciate qualitative research. If you ask me now, I would rather do qualitative research than quantitative research, because through qualitative, I can probe deeper and get a better understanding of the phenomenon compared to a quantitative research. Mind you, I'm a quantitative person. Yeah, I've been teaching mathematics, I've been teaching operational research, I've been teaching statistics all my life. Suddenly, when I did my PhD, I had to switch to something which I'm not familiar with. I was struggling. Yeah, I was struggling, but I attended training session. Now, this is the next tip for you guys. If you are into started your PhD research or you are preparing for your proposal, attend as many courses as possible. See, when I was in Loughborough University, they do organize this luncheon training program. For example, how to create endnotes using I think there was at that time was WordStar. No, using Microsoft Word. Yeah, we already got Microsoft Word. Using Microsoft Word, they call it a packed lunch training. See, in UK, their lunch are very dry, not like us here, curry and everything. So they bring sandwich to the training program. They don't even provide drink, so we had to bring our own drink. And while having lunch, we attended the training session for 1 hour. Right? They don't waste their time now. They don't waste their time. And I learned a lot, how to use Microsoft Word, how to format my thesis and whatnot. Small thing like that helps a lot in preparing for your research, right? So coming back to generating research idea, you have to identify the characteristic of a research idea, which I will talk about this. And then from after you have identified a good research idea, you generate, you generate your own research ideas, and then you refine it further. Discuss with your supervisors. How do you refine it further, right? I remember when I moved my research idea, actually it's my research idea, I started with something else. I end up with something else. I had to refine it, change it 6 times on the agreement of my supervisor. It was very frustrating. During the first year or the first 6 months, I was trying to get a final research focus, right? And it takes time. And finally, when I got, I remember, you remember, because with someone else, I started neural network, and then I went to Graham, was talking about, I want to look at the Technopark in Malaysia, from Technopark, I moved on, and finally, he agreed to look into the barrier and growth factor of high-tech SMEs in Malaysia. That was my research. And I was happy with it, because when I came back to Malaysia, I was no longer teaching those quantitative subjects. I was teaching entrepreneurship to engineering students. I was teaching entrepreneurship to mathematics students, to physics students, because I think on my left side of my brain, right? So now I can jive with these students. Yeah, I can jive with the student. I'm able to understand, and I was teaching technology entrepreneurship. I was mentoring a group of IT entrepreneurship students under the MARA program in UTM. We call it SKIT program. I spent hours and hours with them. I learned a lot from them, right? So you refine your research, and then you express your research idea as an overarching research question. What do you mean by overarching? What is overarching? Now, Professor Saunders used this term quite a lot. Yeah, he used quite a lot. The term overarching means a comprehensive, right? A comprehensive research question, a research question that encompasses all the issues, right? So you do not want a research question which is too narrow or too focused. Yeah, you want something, you want a research question that will encompass issues which will be far-reaching, but not too far and wide, right? And then come up with your research aim. Now, this is what I noticed in most PhD viva. The students do not understand, or are not able to differentiate between research aim and research objective. Yeah, on many occasions, they do not. You see that the research objective and the research aim are always the same, always similar, right? Now, research aim is actually at the end of your study. What is it you want to achieve? Right? In order to achieve that research aim, you conduct this particular research. And what are the objectives of this particular research to achieve that research aim? For example, your research aim, you want to come up with a model on how to manage employees under the AI, with AI technologies, right? So that's your aim. You have to come up with a model. So at the end of the day, in order to come up with the model, you conduct this study, this research, and this is my objective in conducting this research. At the end of the day, you want to achieve the research aim, right? And then you must also recognize the relationship between the overarching research question. This is the variable. Yeah, you mentioned normally you want to determine what are the relationship, research aim and research objective. Then you come up, and then you sort of like jive your research question to your research aim, and then from there you identify the characteristic of a good research idea, which I will talk on. Formulate a research aim, a research objective, and then, or maybe you want to start with a research question, it's all up to you. And at the end of the day, you want to produce a proposal. Yeah, you want to come up with a proposal for your PhD, defend the proposal. Once it is accepted, and it is a goal, right? Now, Malaysia, we tend to be very too formal when it comes to proposal defense. And when I was in the UK, we just sit down. There were three of us: myself, my supervisor, my program director, and also one lecturer. We discussed about my research. I just tell them what I'm going to do briefly. There was no presentation, nothing. Just tell them what I'm going to do. We discuss, and they tell me, okay, this is good, this is not good. I will suggest here and there. It's a roundtable discussion. And then I think it was I can't remember, David Johnson, Professor David Johnson finally says he's a DBA director. He was a PhD director. He said, "Son, okay, you're good. Carry on with your research. You can now collect your data." Simple, very straightforward. Not like what we have in Malaysia, very tense, very stressful, especially when you go to your proposal defense, right? So I don't know, when I normally when I examine a proposal, I try to I don't know, I try not to make it as tense as possible because I never went through that. Yeah. In fact, when I went for my Viva, there was no presentation at all. No presentation at all like what we did here. I sit in front of my, even my external examiner from Durham University do not even have a PhD, but he is the #1 industry expert in the area. He is an expert in SMEs. I forgot his name. So basically, I went through, I don't know, maybe now they required. At that time, maybe because they do not have that many PhD scholars, but it was quite friendly. They asked me a lot of questions about my research. I defended. That's what we call it, proposal. We call it a PhD defense, right? I defended, and finally I had to do my correction. You know what? My correction was very minor, very minor. They went through thoroughly. They found out 3 spelling mistakes, right? That was my correction. Right, that was my correction, which took about 15 minutes to correct. But my supervisor says, "Halal Hassan, hold on, don't make it too fast. Okay, just relax, take a break, 1 week, go and enjoy yourself. Come back, then only do the correction. It takes only 15 minutes, but then you say, take a break, go somewhere else." So what is trying to say is that in your research journal, your PhD journal, PhD journey, right? There are times you also need to take time off. Take time off. If you're down, do not focus on your research. Take time off. I remember my supervisor says, "Hassan, yeah, this is Christmas. Don't do anything. Get out from Loughborough. All right? Go to Europe. Go somewhere else for 1 week, and then come back. We discuss. Do not even touch your work. All right? So from time to time, take time off. Sometimes for 2 weeks. I feel like crying. I couldn't write anything. I have no ideas. All right. So I went to see my supervisor. "Graham, I have nothing to show you. Don't worry. Go and buy a bus ticket, go to Europe," which I did not like because I've never been to Europe. In fact, when I was doing my PhD, I was focusing on my research so much that I never went to Europe. Most of my friends went to Europe, but I went to Lake District. I went further north. I went to the south and whatnot. I took my family around. All right. So if you're down, doesn't matter. Okay, this is common, yeah, in your research work that you're going to face this situation from time to time. Take time off, yeah, go somewhere, and when you're ready, come back. But make sure you discuss with your supervisor first. Okay, talk to your supervisor. "Professor, I think I'm down today. I cannot move on. I need a break." Okay, go. When you're ready, come back. But communicate with your supervisor. That was what I did. Right? Okay. Now let me move on. I think okay. Let's go to the chat. If there is any question or whatever, just throw it on the chat, and I will try to address it from time to time. Okay. Must all doctorate research use empirical data? There are certain field data collection from respondent are deemed sensitive, private, and confidential. Furthermore, some secondary data can be transformed to meet the RQ and RO. Yes. The best thing is to discuss with your supervisor. I had this problem when I was doing qualitative component. I interviewed one company. The company refused to allow me to share the data even the secondary data, right? And they even do not want me to sign the NDA form. So finally, I discussed with my supervisor. He was in the UK. No, he came to Malaysia, I think, for a conference. I met him. Graham, I'm having problems with one company who refused to allow me to publish the data in my thesis. I said, okay, no problem. He says, use a hypothetical data. Hypothetical means the data must be as, you must simulate, yeah, whatever data that you need to use, and use a hypothetical name. So all my companies, none of the, you see, this is the problem with Malaysian companies. They want to be anonymous, right? But the moment a researcher from Harvard comes, from INSEAD comes to interview them, oh, they are more than willing to share whatever they want to share and allow it to be published. But when a Malaysian researcher comes to them, say, no, we don't want to share this data. Please don't publish it. Keep it quiet or something like that. This is a problem which I faced when I was doing my research. Okay. I'll share the name of the book later on. Okay, in PhD project, can Prof share the method used in combining quantitative and qualitative method and how large will, okay. It depends on your, that's why I say it's best to discuss with your supervisor. What it was, I discussed with my supervisor. When I told him that, Graham, out of 340, I think, respondent that I sent, that questionnaire that I sent out, I only got back about 81. He said, no, that's not rich enough, Hassan. You cannot come up with, you can't even test a concrete hypothesis. I understand he was quite right. So I had to use a non-parametric method, right? I mean, I teach statistics. So since the sample size that I got back, at that time, we don't have all this method that you have now, SEM and whatnot. So basically, I had to use non-parametric method. I contacted Dave Code, my co-supervisor. Hassan is not strong enough. So finally, my supervisor said, okay, go back to Malaysia and do interview. I sat down with him. I discussed. So out of that 81 companies that responded, I sat with him. I selected 15 companies to interview. So I contacted these 15 companies. Out of 15, I think only 10 agreed. So I came back to Malaysia, conduct a thorough interview. It was tough, actually. I'm not used to interviewing people. I remember I went to one pharmaceutical company based in Bangi. I met the CEO. The first day I went there, the entire half day, I had to listen to him talking about golf, talking about things which I do not want to ask about. Right, and then slowly he started talking about his company, talking about himself, and I realized that, oh, I got really what I want before he even before I even asked him. And then after talking all about himself, his company and whatnot, his family, then he remembered I'm in front of him. Hey, why did you come here for? What is it that you want to know? What's your question that you want to ask me? And then only I throw the question. So it takes a lot of patience. Right? You don't just go there and batch and ask questions immediately. You have to start to create this ice-breaking, ice-breaking session with him. So this is a skill that I learned a lot about communication, right? So you have to, and then writing qualitative research is not easy. You have to be a good storyteller. I'm not a good storyteller, right? I'm so used to number, brief, okay, concluded, in form of numbers, but when you have to write story, it's not that easy, right? It's tough actually, especially when English is not our first language. Why is it considered important in Malaysia to use moderator or mediator PhD? I think because some of the researcher, they want to create novelty into their research, or maybe because most of the research earlier do not look into that, so they started to introduce moderator or mediator. But whatever is, you must justify. You must justify. To me, I believe in simplicity of research, right? Simplicity of research. Once I asked one PhD candidate in a PhD viva, why do you use a mediating variable? Oh, because everybody's using it. I said, no, that's not a good justification. See, because because my supervisor asked me to, yes, your supervisor asked you to use it, but why? It is your research. It's not your supervisor's research. He couldn't answer, right? So, but finally, I think we gave him a major correction, and without revival. And what we did was we want internal examiner to look into it back and ensure that he justified why he is using. Same thing when I ask a candidate, why are you using SEM? Can you get the same result without using SEM? He cannot respond. He says, well, everybody's using it. So what's wrong with that? So you must be very sure, right? You must be very sure. Our master students should use moderator immediate. How shall I say it? This is the thing. Sometimes you must justify why. If you can't justify, then don't use it, right? I'm not saying because since your university wants it, so whatever it is, when you are using it, you must justify why you are using moderating or mediating. I see currently now almost every researcher is doing that. It looks as though like we already ran out of research ideas, right? There are a lot of new issues coming in, like AI, like what Prof. Dr. Omar mentioned earlier, the Vice Chancellor. There's a lot of new issues coming in. I don't think you need to use variables. A lot of new issues, a lot of new ideas. Yeah. Okay, coming in from Haryani, may I ask a question? How we want to know that our topic research finding still relevant since the research method? Okay, now this is what I say exhaustive literature. You have done an exhaustive literature search to justify that the area that you are researching on is still relevant. You must relate. That is where your literature review, that is why your literature review must be current. Yeah, must be current. Certain universities require to be within 5 years from the date of viva. I think Prof. Sophie will discuss on this matter, especially on the literature review. Right? It must be recent. Some universities require 5 years. Now, be very careful when you are using classical literature. Once in a viva, I caught one student. He was citing Schumpeter 1935, right? Schumpeter 1935, and his research is about innovation and entrepreneurship, right? So I asked him, did you really read that Schumpeter paper in 1935? He said yes. Then my next question was, do you understand German? He said no. Then he realized he was caught. Okay, because the original Schumpeter paper in 1935 was written in German. It was only translated in 1941. If he cited the 1941 paper, then he would have been saved. So whatever it is, when you are citing classical literature, sometimes you need to show you want to show the transformation of theory, right? So if you want to cite classical literature, make sure you get the original article and read. When I was in UK, I had to get the article by Schumpeter, the 1941 article, because we don't have in the library at that time. So it came from the British Library. They had to go down to the basement, dig down, get the original paper, because it's an old journal, right? They make a copy and they send it to my university. So I read that journal. It is common that candidate that deliver that research paper that is different from the actual thesis research. Will this influence on the candidate timeline? Oh, definitely. Right? It will affect. So I think if the agreement of yours, you see, I was supposed to finish in 3 years, but when I changed research focus many times, and it took me longer than what is given to me. So I had to come back to Malaysia to finish my write-up, because I really reached that 3 years at that time. So it took me another 6 months to 1 year. So finally, my convocation was done in Malaysia 2 years after I submitted, right? 2 years after I submitted. So my viva was 1 year after. 1 year later, convocation was 1 year later. So definitely it will affect, right? So that is why, yeah, you will get a copy of the material. You will be given a copy. The organizer will share it with you. Okay, how to choose out a suitable theories? Oh, okay. Now, there is an argument recently by one DBA student, because she has been asked by her exam supervisor to include 2 underpinning theories. So she argued, because she is a DBA student, so she only want to to come up with one underpinning theory. Now, whatever it is, discuss with your supervisor. Do not try to avoid problem with your supervisor. If you can work with that supervisor, ask for another supervisor who can work with you, right? As I said earlier, there's no rule of thumb on the number of underpinning theory that you should be using right now. I don't know whether your university has that. Is it stated? Is it in black and white? Yeah, this is another issue. So whatever it is, discuss with your supervisor for properly. How to choose and use suitable theories. Okay, I think I will mention that. The theories must, okay, I'll get into that later. What is considered important in Malaysia? Okay, I think I've been there before. Okay, method using quantitative and quality. Basically, in my case, for example, I had to triangulate since my quantity data is not strong enough. Because when I did my quantitative research, there are other phenomena that cannot be answered from my quantitative method. Even if I got more data, more respondent, it still cannot answer. You see, when I one of the issue that I found out that in all literatures, all right, they say that finance is a barrier in growth of high-tech SMEs in other countries. Also, it is a barrier. But when I did my research, finance is not a barrier. Sorry, it's the other way around. But when I did my research, my quantitative say yes. So I was surprised. All right, it contradicts all the other researchers. So my professor said, Hassan, you got to find out. Go and find out why. Why does it contradict? Go and do a qualitative research. So I went into interview. And surprisingly enough, actually, there is no barrier. But the quantitative research says there is a barrier. Now, why is it so? Because when I went in to find out, and I realized that most of the SMEs, high-tech SMEs funding were turned down by the funder because the funder do not understand the technology. So they turn it down, right? For example, you go to SME bank, you have a new technology, you submit your application. You do not have an officer that understands the technology, they turn it down, right? So it was reported as there is a barrier in getting finance or funding, right? But then when we probe further, we found out that it's not because of there is no money, but because of it was turned down because there is no person who is evaluating the application, understand the technology, right? We aim to develop a framework. Do we need to test the framework? Yeah, basically you need to, yeah. How you test it is another issue because you want to ensure that it is doable. Now, my supervisor always asks me, Hassan, when you look at your framework, is it doable? That is the question he always asks me, and that's the same question I will ask my PhD or my DBA. Is it doable? Right? I will get into that later on. Right? Let me move on a little bit more. Then I'll try to address the issue. Now, someone asked me just now, what is the characteristic of a good research idea? It is based on these three issues, okay? Appropriateness, capability, and fulfillment. Does the idea fit the specification and meet the standards set by the examining institution, for example, your university? Now, I came from UTM. I was working in UTM. Now, in UTM, at that time, I'm not sure about now, during my time in 1996, 1997, when we go into our PhD research, it must be based on, it must be technology based, irrespective whether you are from the business school, from the management school and whatnot. That is the specification set by UTM. So we have to go into that area, all right? We have to do research on technology management, and as long as the word technology is there. We have to do, because it's not examining saying about our funding institution, right? Does the idea contain issues that have a clear history to the theory? Yes, this is very important. As I mentioned earlier, how much theory that you have to discuss with your supervisor, right? The idea contains issues that you must link it to your theory, whether it is an underpinning theory or grounded theory. There must be a theory that explains. Are you able to state an overarching research question? Just say again, overarching. Overarching means a comprehensive research question. Yeah, research aim and research objective on investigating question theory. And then you talk about capability. That one is appropriate. Capability. Do you have or can you develop within the project time frame the necessary research skill to undertake the research. Do you have the research skill? Right now, I do not have the research skill in that time. At that time, I do not understand qualitative research at all. Right, but I learned. Okay, that's why I never traveled to Europe and like most of my friends for vacation or anything, because I had to spend a lot of time trying to understand what is qualitative research all about. How do I collect data? What is a case study? Right now, if you ask me, I can conduct training on how to teach using case method. I can conduct training on how to write case study because of my experience. And I was lucky when I attended the Harvard Senior Management Program couple of years ago, the one in Malaysia. Okay, it is all based on Harvard style case study. So I was able to comprehend the cases and whatnot because I did case studies for my research. Is the research achievable or doable within the available time? Can you do it within 2 years if you are a DBA student or 3 years for a PhD student? Right. So you must have a proper time frame. Discuss it with your supervisor. If you feel that it's going to take you 6 years, forget it. Okay. Forget it, it's going to take 6 years, or maybe you have to narrow down your scope, narrow down your framework, narrow down your research question, your objective and whatnot. Okay, it is and do you have the financial resources? Now, at that time when I was in the UK in 1998, there was a stock market crash. The economy was down, and the value of pound sterling to Malaysian ringgit at that time was 8 Malaysian ringgit to 1 pound sterling. And the Malaysian government said, no, we're not going to fund you guys coming back to Malaysia for your data collection. So I was stuck, right, because my research is about Malaysia. So finally, I spoke to my supervisor. That's why it's very important for you, whatever problem you have, always speak up to your supervisor. I told Graham, I can't go back. I don't have the money. The exchange rate is too high. Okay, hold on a second. So he went around, asking around. I finally got a grant from EU. I got £1,000 grant from EU, and I use that money to go back to Malaysia for my plane fare and spend it on my data collection. So try to find a supervisor who can also help you out to get funding in your research. Right? If you get that, you're lucky. It's quite difficult to find one. And fulfillment. Will the process research be likely to provide fresh insight into this topic? So when you do your research, will you provide fresh insight or this old issue, right? Will give you insights to you, right? Wow, when I did my PhD research on high-tech SMEs, I realized, wow, there are many definitions of high-tech. In Malaysia, it's different. In the US, it's different. We define SMEs based on number of employees, right? And also sales turnover. But in the US, if your company has less than 500 workers, you are considered as small. Compared to Malaysia, small is something like, I can't remember how many, less than 20, but in US, 500. In Malaysia, it will be big. All right, so you do learn a lot of new perspective. Are the findings likely to be symmetrical? That is similar value to whatever the outcome. Whatever you do, whatever it is still the same. Will the research help towards achievement of your future aspiration or career goal? This is very important, right? And why I move away from neural network, because I do not want to be placed in the mathematics department. Sorry, if you are a mathematician here, because initially when I moved to UTM from UITM, after 8 years in UITM, I was at the School of Mathematics. I was teaching actual science students, right? But when I moved to UTM, my vice chancellor asked me, Hassan, where do you want to be placed? I said, I do not want to be in the mathematics department. It's too blunt. The people wear thick glasses. It's hard to communicate with them because that was what happened to me when I was in UITM. Right, so I want to go to the management department. So I moved to management. I was teaching quantitative techniques to the management students. Right, then I realized now if I do my PhD, I want to do something. I don't want to go back. That's why I moved to neuro. I don't want to go back to mathematics. So I decided to go into area of business, and finally, because of my PhD, I came back. I got a PhD, which is related to entrepreneurship. I was invited by the state government to sit in the expo for entrepreneurship. I was involved in entrepreneurship development at state level, and I was involved in INSCAN. I was involved in at many levels. And then when I was appointed as Deputy Vice Chancellor for UMK in 2015, I met Datuk Pa says, Hassan, we want you to enhance entrepreneurship education at this university. That's why we bring you over as a Deputy Vice Chancellor. Then I realized that my career path moved up and up and up, and I have never looked back since. If I had stayed in the mathematics department, I don't know what my career goals will have been, right? Okay, and a bit more. Okay. Now, and then research problem. This is a very important issue. On most occasions, I noticed that in any PhD viva, most students face this problem. When I read a PhD thesis or a DBA dissertation, now PhD dissertation, I start with chapter 1. But DBA dissertation, I start with the last chapter, right? Because I want to see the impact of the research. I want to see what is the practice solution or suggestion. But when I read a PhD research, I will start from chapter 1. Okay, I want to see what is the research problem. I start with the research problem first. So research problem is very important, or the problem statement in your research is very important, right? And it must be clear, concise, specific statement that describes the issue or problem that the research project addresses. It should be written in a way that it is easily understandable to both experts and non-experts in the field. Okay, so make it as simple as possible. Sometimes when I read the problem statement, I do not know what they're talking about. Okay, I do not know what they're talking about. Too complicated to understand and whatnot. And finally, we really hit hard on the problem statement during the viva. Okay, so make it as easily to understand. Don't be too complicated. It's just that remember when you finish your write-up, your thesis, who will be the first person to read? Your supervisor. Who will be the second person to read it? Your co-supervisor. Who will be the third person to read it? Your examiner. Right? Your examiner. Don't give him a hard time. Okay, don't give him a hard time. Don't irritate him. Right? You don't know how he is. So go and read his article, his publication, see what are his thoughts. Okay, get to know him. Okay, my supervisor, for example, when he was looking for an examiner, I forgot that guy's name. He went to Durham University to find who, by interviewing without them realizing who should be my examiner. And I use the same method also. When I choose as an examiner for my student, I would, if I did not know that, I will go to that university to find out about the person. I will go through his articles, his writing and everything, because I want to make life easy for my PhD student or my DBA students, right? And I will select him. And I will try to find someone whom I had known for many years, and normally someone who will not create problem to my PhD student or DBA student during the viva. Okay, so you define the specific problem, narrow down, start by identifying general area of research. You're going to start this semester, for example, doing your research. You want to create an impactful problem statement. Identify what is your general area of research. And from there, you narrow down. It's just like a funnel. Okay, start by identifying the general area first, and then slowly you define what are the specific problem. Narrow down to the general area of interest to a specific problem of issue. Okay, then you start to narrow down. When I was teaching doctoral seminar in UNITA, what I did with them was helping them to identify their problem statement. I had them to identify the problem first. Okay, I had them to identify the problem. What is the problem in the specific industry that they're going into? For example, cybersecurity. One of the students, Siki, I remember he was looking to issue of cybersecurity among SMEs. So what are the problems that they face? Narrow down, then came up with the problem statement. So you define the specific problem. And then you explain the significance of the problem, why is it so important. You provide a clear and concise statement, right? And use scientific and objective tone. And make sure that the problem statement that you mentioned should be written in a neutral and objective tone. Avoid using subjective language, something which is vague, or you put your personal bias in there. Avoid that. Now, when I was doing my PhD at that time, there was total freedom. We can use the term I. Yeah, but my supervisor said, yeah, you can use it, but not too much. So I used the word I. This is my proposal. This is my I and whatnot. If you look at my thesis, there's a lot of that in there. They do allow, but now you can't use that, right? You can use that. You have to use a third person, a researcher or whatnot. But because they do not allow that now because they want to prevent personal bias. It should be based on your objective tone. In other words, based on your research, based on your finding, based on your reading. It's not coming from you directly. Okay. Now, what do you mean by, okay, next we come to the research question. If you notice, I did not go to objective. I go straight to research question, then objective. Now, I know some supervisor wants the student to start talking about objective, then research question. Now, I come from the school of thought that always start with research question, then objective. I will explain to you. Now, when you say overarching, mean you want to have a comprehensive research question. And in any research, it will be the center of the research project. From your problem statement, you derive your research question. Remember, why do we do research? Because of our inquisitive mind. We want to find out what, why, wow, how, and what not. So you have a lot of questions in your mind. So your research question must come from the problem statement. Based on the problem statement, what is the question that is in your mind that you want to research out? Okay, and the research question also will influence your literature review, your research design, your access, need to negotiate, approach to sampling, your choice of data collection, analysis method, and whatnot. And it will also be used to generate a set of more detailed research objectives. Right? That's why I say research objective comes after research question, or investigative research question to guide the research. Question may be divided into one. It can be exploratory type of question, it can be descriptive, it can be explanatory, it can be even. For example, descriptive question. What was the cost of marketing campaign for the new range of products? This is descriptive. Exploratory, how? You have this question, how? How has the corporate rebranding strategy affected consumers' attitude? How, or normally sometimes why? Right, I'm going to quite fast. Okay, let me finish this first. On overarching research question, the exploratory research question will either comment why, explanatory is why, and contain this word within the question. For example, a question may ask customer what they think about a new product and why they like or dislike. How does it affect the method? Simple. If it is why and how, if you read Yin's book, you say if why and how, definitely it's going to be followed by qualitative research, quantitative research. You have to be extra careful because during Viva, we caught quite a number of students who use the term in their research question, why and how, but it's not followed by qualitative method. It was totally quantitative. We asked them to relook back, okay, and what you think, if you ask, they will have to follow through with the right method. Evaluative questions are also likely to begin how, what, unlike, how much, how has, and whatnot. Okay, I'm not going to go into further. You can read this later. Cloud and Nutbrow suggest the Goldilocks test to decide if research questions are either too big, too small, too hot, or just right. Okay, if it is too big, it needs significant. You may need significant time and demand too many resources, and you may take more time. Don't make it too big, right? If too small, insufficient substance, not enough. If it's too hot, you have to be extra careful because it may be too sensitive to ask questions during certain time. For example, now we see that issue of gender in America. For example, issue of gender is a big issue. It is now a hot issue. Is a hot question. So having a research question pertaining to gender in America, it may be very difficult. People do not like the issue of gender being discussed thoroughly in America, right? A bit more, then I will look at some of the questions. Okay, now this is an example. For example, you have one research idea. Oh no, I want to do a media campaign following product calls. So what is the overarching research question? Initially, I want to know in what ways can media campaign be designed to increase consumer trust. So you write all the possible. Remember when you say overarching, it is a comprehensive research question. And then you become more focused. So you refine your research question further. Right, you refine further. That's why PhD is an ongoing process. For example, when you finish chapter 1, you go to chapter 2 or chapter 3, please go back to chapter 1. from time to time to look back based on your literature, based on new input that you got. So from time to time, refine it, improve it further. Okay, I remember I rewrote chapter 1. I don't know, I can't remember how many times. Right, because my supervisor was very picky, so I spent a lot of time rewriting. I went to see him. Oh no, son, take this one out. And when I again, the same, oh, put this back. And finally, I got back the original statement that I wrote. Okay, sometimes it can be very frustrating, but in a way, he helps me to improve my write-up. Yeah, improve my write-up. But I know he's very stressed with me because English has not been my forte. But I do learn a lot. Now, I'm not sure whether ChatGPT can be used for your write-up. This is a big question mark because recently we caught in one university, they caught students submitting assignment. They have exactly the same write-up. When they checked into Kelantan, was submitted on the same time. So basically, they were not able to trace who copied who. And the assignment was written using ChatGPT. I suspect they were asking similar question and whatnot, and that university decided to what do you say, freeze the result and did further investigation to find out how that happened. Okay, so be careful, right? Be very careful. For example, I use ChatGPT to write my speech. I think my wife is listening now. She's also attending here. I asked ChatGPT to write an emotional love letter to my wife. So I sent it to my wife. She said, "Nah, it's not from you. You can never write like this." But it was really, really good. Okay. Sorry, my DBA student, if you are in here, you remember the farewell note that I wrote to you guys? It was actually prepared by ChatGPT, but I had to improve it further. Right, so you can use that to write letters and whatnot, but the question is whether can you write thesis? That one is still questionable because some of the references, I remember one of my friends in UTM, she wrote an article using ChatGPT. She found out that the references, it's not there. She couldn't find the references, although it's being stated by Chat. And some of them are not coming from reliable sources. So be extra careful. Okay, be extra careful. I know there are other tools that can help you when you're using ChatGPT. Okay, so you have a graduate recruitment pandemic. These are your overarching, and then you have an overarching research question. You become more focused. That's why I say when you're doing your research, you have to spend time looking into it, improving it until you feel like vomiting. Okay, feel like vomiting. That was how I felt. I keep on changing it. Went to my supervisor, and change it. I change it again, and finally, wow, I see I'm getting very tired. But then again, at the end of the day, I only get 3 words, 3 spelling mistakes in my PhD because my supervisor was very, very thorough. Okay, but I don't want to be like him. Very tiring, very tiring. Okay, now let's look at some of the questions. Okay, I can answer all questions, but I will try. Okay, what is considered important in Malaysia? Okay, sorry, I think we've been there before. Novelty is always a challenging part of research. Is there any framework available ways to find novelty? Yeah, it is a very, very difficult. Sometimes it could be novelty to you, but to the examiner, it may not be. I had a problem before. One of the external examiner, we have 2 external examiners at the time. To me, it's okay, right? But to the other external examiner, she was not happy. She said, "No, it's not novelty." So finally, the external examiner had an argument. I had to argue with her because I think she was not being fair to the candidate in the sense that she was talking from a different perspective, right? So this is very difficult to say. That's why, to me, when I examine a PhD student or a DBA student, novelty is not something which I really focus on. There are many other issues to look at. I look into it, okay, but I think there are other issues that I look on, and I try to work on the other issues, yeah, because you are not an expert in that area, basically. Sometimes they bring you in because you are expert in one particular area. right? For example, I was about to focus on intrapreneurship, because my specialization is entrepreneurship. So, and the other guy was talking about intrapreneurship in the IT sector. So I'm not an expert in IT sector. And that guy was talking about novelty in IT sector. I said, no, it's got to be fair, right? Because this research is about intrapreneurship. So it is still open for discussion. Yeah? How can you differentiate whether my studies toward basic or applied research? Okay, I think I put up the table just now in the sense that when you look at the practice component of your research, then it becomes more applied. Okay, you remember the PPRN grant? In fact, I was involved in starting up the grant with Professor Diego Comin from Harvard Business School many years ago. When we started the grant, we are focusing on applied research in a way that solving problems. Normally, applied research is focused more on finding solutions, finding problems, rather than coming up with new sets of theory or improving or whatever. Okay, so applied is more into that area, and most DBA research tend to be applied in nature. And in practice, management sciences, we are encountering that not one single theory can explain the evolution of certain field evolution. Corporate governance for digital capability. Yes, this is where you need to. Yes, I agree with you. You have to use 2 or 3 underpinning theory, because, as I said earlier, when I had an argument when it comes to novelty with the IT person, I'm not an IT person. So finally, we agreed that that thesis need to include 2 underpinning theory, one pertaining to IT, and one pertaining to entrepreneurship, right? To support the contention. In our research in quality, this is very interesting. Having a I think it's, I'm not. I cannot say that exactly, because I've never come across anybody using so far using mediating or moderating variable in qualitative research, because qualitative research is about it's about answering the question of why and how. So normally people try to avoid that. Okay, anyone from any UKM campus? Is there any rule that problem statement should be within? There's no set rule. Even some say that it should not be more than 240 words. Right? I've come across in one article should not be more than 240, but don't make it too long. I've seen a problem statement 9 pages long. It was so boring that to the extent that we had to ask that candidate to redo chapter 1. Now, sometimes, remember, when you start with your problem statement, you discuss your background of the study, right? I noticed that sometimes most of the discussion should be in the background of the study. The background of the study is to prepare the reader for the problem statement. You don't have to put everything in the problem statement section. Put it in the background of the study. Get their mindset ready, come up with statistic numbers, explain on something about the phenomenon, the issues on in the background, so they come up with statistics. That when they go to the problem statement, they're there. Okay. From your experience of being an examiner, what you consider a good background of study and problem statement, does number of pages? No. I have seen 1-page problem statement. It was well written, right? So good to the extent that all of us agree this is very, very concise, clear problem statement. It was good, right? And I've seen 9 pages. It was horrible, right? We couldn't figure out. We're having difficulty trying to figure out what's actually the problem statement, right? So again, your writing skill is very important. Your style of writing. If there is any courses on writing up or writing your dissertation or thesis, go. Okay, go for those courses. It helps you a lot. I attended quite a number. Okay, for a problem statement, for example, we have many issues. Do we need to address all the issues in our thesis, or we choose? Okay, now this is very interesting. And this is another issue also. The issues must be geared back to your research question, right? Geared back to your research question. Remember, at the end of the day, you want to achieve your objective, right? Objective is your action plan. Objective is your action plan to address the research question. So stay within the objective and the research question. If you feel that there are other issues that you don't have to address the issue, you can even suggest it in suggestion for future research to look at other issues which your research discovered it is important, but it's not addressed because you feel that it is not really answering to your research process. Put it in your suggestion for future research, right? Okay, so Chef, how are you, Chef? Lama tak jumpa. I think we should need to go cycling one of these days. Love letter by ChatGPT. Save time, yeah. If you are young, you'll go ahead. But AI, okay, you guys are talking about ChatGPT, is good, but not thesis written, yes. But I think ChatGPT is revolving. Okay, it's revolving, it's getting better and better. And I think one day it will become one of the tools for writing up. Yeah? But I don't know how it will happen. If you look at ChatGPT, when I've been using Chat quite frequently, I can see it is transforming. It gets better and better. Right. So I hope one day we can use it for your thesis write-up. But now I will suggest. Okay. Do you mind further explain the difference between research aim? Okay, as I said earlier, research aim is something that you want to achieve at the end of your research. Right. For example, I want to go to I'm in Kuala Lumpur. I want to go back to Penang. Right. Now to get back to Penang, I have a few issues that I must resolve. I have to decide: do I need to drive? Do I need to fly? Right. So one of my objectives is to determine my mode of transportation, and then I have to decide what clothing do I need to use, right? So I have to find out. I did some study on what is the best clothing to go back to Penang. Is it rainy season or whatever? And then I have to decide how much money do I need to go back. I got to give some money to my mom. How much money should be? I'm sure she's going to ask some money from me. So, so your objective is to go and get enough money so that when you go back, you have something to give to your mom, or buy her some gift or whatnot. Remember, your aim is to go back to Penang. And in order to go back to Penang, you have a few objectives that you need to resolve first. Is your car in good condition, for example? Right? So same thing here. Your aim is you want to come up with a policy statement to the government, right? And in order to do that, before you can come up with policy statement, you have to do research. And in your research, you have a number of objectives. You have to identify what are the variables, what are the factors that affect the issues pertaining to the policies, right? And then you want to know whether, once you identify, the next step is to determine which of these factors affect the major issues, for example. At the end of the day, you come up with a solution, and that solution will address your aim. Okay, aim tend to be the bigger picture, and objective is how to achieve that aim. Yeah. Peserta dapat saja, I leave it to the host to answer. Okay, I think I mentioned that goals actually same. Goal and aim is same. It tend to be more general. I will talk about the research objective later. Okay, define good problem statement. This is very interesting question. As I said, I think I mentioned a bit on good problem statement in the sense that don't be too long. It address the particular issue. Sometimes you must address the gap. The gap can be in the form of practice, or it can be in the form of research. If you address that gap, clearly address it, I think it should be no problem. I've seen a quite good one-page problem statement or research problem being written. It goes straight to the point and addresses the gap. No beating around the bush, right? But it prepares the readers in the background of the study. You provide all the statistics. You get the examiner's mind ready for the problem statement. Okay, right. Fishing and cycling. Okay, cycling. I'm going cycling tomorrow. My topic: when the blockchain in public procurement in Malaysia. I tell you what, I'm going to share my email. If you have any other issue, feel free to drop me an email, even my phone number, or you can come to my office at Glen Mary. I'm based at Neon headquarters. If you are close by, just drop by. I'll put my phone number on the chat. Do drop by and my email address. If you're close by, come. You can have chapati. You can even have nasi Arab or whatever. We can discuss further, right? Case study is suitable for your research, but you might need to engage other public administrative roles from other nations and how this implement blockchain. In fact, the case studies are more realistic. I agree with you. I agree with you because I've done case studies before, and I'm writing. In my, I'm sure some of my DBA students who are here, you guys remember I asked you to write a case study for our social innovation and entrepreneurship class that is actually meant to prepare you for your DBA research. if you like to go to case writing your case study, right? Okay, Chef, thank you very much. Now let me just move on a little bit more because I'm supposed to stop at what time is it now? Moderator Suhaida, what time is it now? Is it 11:10 because my clock stopped battery sudah run out. My watch. Oh, it's 11:08. Okay, what time am I supposed to stop? Let's move a little bit more. Okay, I think I'm reaching the last part of the first part of my presentation, the importance of theory. Remember, someone asked about theory. Now, I noticed when I was with, this is the difference between the PhD and DBA student. I noticed the DBA, sorry yang kawan-kawan UNTAD, I noticed the DBA student, not just in UNTAD, even when I was supervising my UTM student and also when I was sitting with the UNK DBA student as well. I noticed they don't really read that much compared to a PhD student. I think because of the culture that they went through, right? So when you talk about theory, if you want to understand theories to explain the phenomena of your research, you do have to read a lot. Read, and read. Okay, I have my tips later on. I will share with you. When I was doing my PhD, I attended a class on speed reading, and that's how I enhanced my reading skill. I can read, and when I was doing my PhD, I think I read about almost about close to 500 over books, and at that time I was carrying like something like 1,000 over articles. I was using speed reading, so I do not have to read every page. I will explain to you later. Now, Wetton, Saunders defined the term theory is used to refer to systematic body of knowledge grounded on empirical evidence. So that knowledge is grounded on previous research, evidence from previous research, which will be used for explanatory or predictive purposes, okay, according to Saunders. Now, Wetton in 1989 identified that theory is composed of 4 elements. Okay, when we talk about theory, it has the following 4 elements: the what, the how, the why, and the post group, the who, where, and when. In fact, I give you an example here. The first one is the what. Okay, the first one is the what. What are the concepts of variables that the theory examines? Okay, what are the concepts or variables that the theory examines? What example? Organizational change, or employee engagement, employee commitment. These are the whats. Yeah, these are the whats. And then the theory may also talk about the how part. The second element is concept or variable related. The key aspect here is causality, causal. The theory is concerned with cause and effect. How did change have an effect on one of them, right? That's the research question. So among the why part, it could be because of organization change, it could be because of employee engagement, it could be also because of employee commitment. The third component of a theory can be it helps to explain how are they related. Yeah, this is the how part. Yeah, this is the critical element in a theory because it explains the reason for the relationship between the concept or the variable. So in other words, when you have 2 variables, you should be able to explain the relationship. Okay, how are they related? I've seen cases where students in the Viva, they put up the mediating variable. They were not able to explain how are they related and why are they there. They cannot justify. See, in PhD or DBA research, justification is very important. In whatever you do, justify. Right? And in order to justify, you have to read, and read a lot. Okay? And the fourth element that Wetton identified, some I can't see because my is being blocked by my hold on a second. Who does this sorry, yeah. I can't read that. It's being blocked my hilangkan ni. Okay. Who does this theory apply to? Where does this theory apply to, and when does this theory apply to? I mean, it could be to the top management, it could be to supervisory level, right? So who is affected by this? Who does it involve? Whether the theory applies only to a certain level of management, top level, middle level, the whole part. So theories should be based on these 4 elements. It should be able to explain these 4 elements. And as someone mentioned about how much theories we need, I think this is a good guideline in the sense that it helps to explain the relationship of the variables that you have identified. Okay. Bit more. Okay, now once you have started with your research, perhaps you already completed your proposal defense. Your next stage is you are much into your research, you're deep into your research. Now you are writing up. Now this is very important. When you do your write up, when you write your chapter 1, it is very important for you. Number 1 is to capture the reader's interest. Now, who is the reader? Of course, other than your supervisor and co-supervisor, your reader will definitely be your examiner, right? When you write up, try to think, what would the examiner be thinking? How do you capture his interest? That is why the abstract is very important. And I noticed that most students fail to come up with a good abstract. You must know what is the characteristic of a good abstract. I'm not going to tell you about what is a good characteristic. You have to find out yourself. In the sense that if your abstract is good, you will get their interest to read your thesis or dissertation further. If your abstract is bad, what is this? I think I'll just put it aside and read it later. You see, last time, examiners are given 3 months to read your thesis or dissertation. So they have plenty of time. Now, we are only given 1 month. Can you just imagine reading 300 pages? Sometimes I got 3 or 4 thesis or dissertation to read. So it can be very irritating if you do not come up with a good write-up. If you do not send it for proofreading, I will just put it to the side, throw it to the side, and read the one that is very, very interesting and not irritating, well proofread. So that's why it's very important, very, very important to send it for proofreading before it gets to the hand of the examiner, right? So you must capture, right? You need to capture the reader's attention, okay? With a discussion of the broader theme relating to your research. That is why the background of the study is very important. Because the background of the study is the broad picture, the helicopter view of the research, right? Come with a good write-up, okay? Come with a good write-up. You must add impact, add some statistics, add some data into it, add some chart, right? To get their interest, right? Get their interest. If you know that your examiner is someone who likes, you look at his thesis, wow, he likes a lot of charting. He's a chartist. Okay, add a lot of charts into your chapter 1 to get his interest to him. Yeah. After all, he's going to pass or fail you, right? He's going to pass or fail you. Not just your supervisor would only decide whether you can go for viva or not. But once you get to the viva, you are at the mercy of the examiner. So you have to understand the mindset of the examiner, right? Okay. So you want to capture, you add quotation from international, national professional body, government organization. Now you make sure that you get the key authors in during the background study. Get their attention. Wow, he cited Schumpeter. Wow, this is very interesting. I mean, if you look at his publication, wow, he did a lot of citation by this particular author. Okay, so before you I'm not sure about certain universities, you keep it a secret. You don't tell who is your external examiner. I don't agree with that, right? Normally, you should let the candidate know who the external examiner is, so that they will start searching, looking around. What are the normally before I appoint an examiner, I will discuss with my student. I will tell him, okay, I'm going to talk to this particular person. I want to appoint him as, I'm lucky because I've been teaching for the last almost 40 years. So most of my students, quite a number of my students has got their PhD, and they are potential candidates to be the examiner of my current PhD student. All right, so I will tell them, I make that up with them. Okay, I got this particular student, like what I supervised you last time. So now I want you to be examiner, things like that. And normally it is quite easy lah, yeah, quite easy. It's about networking. Yeah, it's about networking, and the student life will be easier, right? So when they go for Viva, they do not get hard time. Okay, and then number 2 is to give an overview of your research topic. I give an overview because sometimes when I read the background of the study, I mean, when you read you read the abstract. Sometimes abstract is not well written, so you look at the topic. What is he talking about? So and then you read the background, say, still not clear. I still cannot figure out what is this person trying to look at or trying to do. Okay, so you must give an overview, okay, of your research topic so that this particular person or the examiner will have a good idea, right? And when you do this, you assume that the reader knows nothing about your topic. So try to be as simple as possible when you do your write-up, assuming that the reader do not really know the topic, in the sense that by reading your background study, he or she should be able to say, oh, okay, this is about this. All right, okay, I like this. Make it clear why you do it this way, right? Why you are focusing on this particular, make it clear, okay? And detail how your research is going to make a contribution. This is also very important in the sense that there'll be some theoretical contribution, there'll be some policy contribution, there'll be some practice contribution. Remember, DBA should be a lot more practice contribution rather than theoretical contribution. And how, I need to explain a bit. Don't go to detail. Only, and then you have to list your research objective. The objective must be in chapter 1, and then you must give a forthcoming. And this is something which I noticed students fail to do. Now, at the end of the chapter 1, we should summarize a bit. Chapter 1 discuss about blah 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 briefly. The following chapter will then discuss further on some of the literature, some of the theories that has been briefly discussed in this particular chapter. In other words, there must be some smooth transition from chapter to chapter, right? Smooth transition. That was what my supervisor taught me. Hassan, make sure that before the person reads the next chapter, give them a breathing space, give them some idea what to expect in the next chapter, right? Don't just jump straight away, okay? And then learn from others. This is very important. You have to learn from others. Do not be shy. Okay, do not be shy. Sometimes other universities do conduct training. Go, yeah, please go. Talk to people, get some ideas. Now, I think normally it's a bit difficult for PhD candidate. But for DBA candidates, it's a lot easier because once I interviewed one, I myself, I like to pretend that I want to be a DBA or PhD candidate. I will go to some of the education, during the education fair, I pretended, so I went to ask around, hey, I want to do a DBA, can you tell me something about your program? What's your strength? I was doing some market intelligence. So they will tell me, oh, I want to do a DBA. I went to, I think it was Universiti Malaysia Wales. I'm not sure whether she's here or not. She got a DBA already. So I asked her, she's marketing staff, what's the difference between a DBA and PhD? Oh, she says, I got a friend who went to UM doing PhD, and I did my DBA in UM. When we did our coursework together, we became very close. We stick together as a group in our class assignment and everything. So when we started doing our research, when I'm down, right, my classmate, my group members from our assignment would come and comfort me. They will motivate, so I don't get lonely. And I learned from them as well. We discussed a lot about how to move about in our research. I did my PhD research. It was a lonely process. It was a very lonely process, right? We never had classes together with other than research classes. That's it. But it was among all the entire university. So I got no friend to motivate me. When I'm down, I only have my wife, I only have my family to motivate me. So it was really a lonely process for PhD students. Okay, for DBA, tak banyak sangat lah. You have friends. who were in the same class doing coursework together. So whatever it is, learn. Yeah, learn from your friend, learn from other people. It is a learning process. Okay, it is a learning process. A bit more. What time am I supposed to stop? It's already 11:30. Okay. Now, these are the top points to consider when you're going for your doctoral or master research. Number one. Now, be aware that this is an exciting. I don't know how many of you consider your research part is exciting but challenging. Okay, exciting but challenging. Okay, in the sense that it is a long journey, but it is a fulfilling one. Yeah, it is a fulfilling one. Okay, and as your PhD or DBA journey develop, or your master's by research or whatever you call it, you will become more comfortable with the process and everything that it offers. Initially, yes, it was tough. But then as time moves on, you become a bit more comfortable and you find it is easy to face the challenge. I had a problem trying to adapt to client performance. Okay, he's about my age, about 1 or 2 years my senior. Yeah. So, yeah, my age, he's my supervisor. How? He doesn't even have a PhD. But when I started to sit down with him, discuss, I noticed that his knowledge is very far from me. Okay, although he doesn't have a PhD. And then the amount of respect that I gave him becomes higher and higher and higher. Okay, to the extent that later on, I do not see the fact that he do not have a PhD. He is a good supervisor. I really love to have him. I'm proud to have him as my supervisor. Initially, I was very skeptical. So it is a challenging time for me, right? I know to some of you, you have families to look after. You have your jobs, you have your work, right? You go work in the morning, you come back, you want to start preparing for your dissertation or thesis, your research, you become very tired. That's why you have to keep fit, right? That's why you have to go cycling. Okay, that's why you have to go jogging. That's why you have to do exercising, yoga, or whatever, as you are doing your PhD, to keep yourself fit, right? To keep yourself fit. And then build a good relationship with your supervisor or your supervision committee. Manage your supervisors well. Do not wait until your supervisor start calling you. Hey, Hassan, where are you? Then you're in trouble. That means your supervisor is managing you. All right? Set deadline. Okay, Prof. I want to submit my chapter 1 in 2 weeks' time. Okay, are you free to read during that time? Oh, yes. Okay, so you are managing him. Okay, do not wait until he start calling you. Hey, where you are? How come you're missing? Then you are in trouble. So avoid that. Okay, so build a good relationship. Try to find out when he's bukanlah nak bodek in the sense that, you know, human being kan. So find out when is his birthday. Send you a birthday card or birthday wish or whatever. Just create a rapport. You see, I'm still close to my supervisor even until today, as a friend. Okay, as a friend, and if I need anything from him, he will easily assist me. Even my PhD students gone back to Pakistan. They always contact me, Prof. How are you? If you're coming to Pakistan, tell me. So when I go to Pakistan, I have no issue. They will host me there. Okay, I got free lodging, I got free transport, and everything. I've been to Lahore 5 times because of my PhD. My former PhD students there. I got 3 former PhD students in Lahore. So I love Lahore. I've been there 5 times, and they will host me. And they keep asking. There's one Obed who's now based in Karachi. I'm supposed to go to Karachi, but because of PKP, I did not make it there. So in a way, you create networking. Yeah, you create networking after your PhD. And finally, and procrastination. This is a big issue. Yeah, we all do it. Yeah, I'm also a procrastinator. But bear in mind that procrastination will only delay you in many strides in your research. It will delay you further. So avoid procrastination. Plan well. Come up with a proper schedule, right? And stick to the schedule. You may be very, very busy or somehow or other. This is something that you have to learn about time management. Yeah, as you evolve in your life, right? Sometimes you have to get to know your son. You know him when he was 10 years old. Now he's 20 years old. Alamak, I've got to get to know him again when he's 20 years old. So, so you have same thing with your supervisors. When you started with him, he may be difficult, but later on you realize you understand him further, then life will be easy for you, right? And then you set the deadline. See, when I supervise, I ask my students to set the deadline. I don't set the deadline. See, the moment I set the deadline, they are in trouble. Okay, and in the progress report, it will not be good. Okay, remember, if you do your PhD or DBA, you have the supervisor will look at your progress report, you fill up your progress report. Okay, so set the deadline and commit it. Do not set a deadline that you cannot commit. So it is vital that you discuss with your supervisor, set clear objective, set deadlines, and stick to it. And the deadline objective must be realistic. Okay, do not be too idealistic. Right? Oh, I want to finish in 2 years. I can do it. That's not idealistic. Okay. I got one guy. I won't mention his name. He did his DBA at Asia University. He has a company that is worth 200 million. Very busy guy. When I was his examiner, I won't mention which institute. And one day he approached me. He said, "Prof, can you help me?" I said, "Why?" You just finished a Viva, DBA Viva. The university said I can submit, I can complete my DBA in 2.5 years if I publish in one Scopus journal. Right? So, okay, what do you want me to help? Can you help me? I mean, he's an examiner though. Can you help me to get a paper published? If you're interested, I can put your name into the paper. I said, no, I will help you to publish. I tried lah, tapi tak berjaya. So finally, he got one paper at UiTM and published in that journal. And he was able to graduate in less than 3 years. It was 2 years and 2 years and a few months, right? But he is a very busy guy. He has a company worth 200 million ringgit, or going around jet setting and everything. But he managed to finish on time because he set the deadline and he committed to it. While he was on the airplane, he did his write-up. He did his research, his writing and everything to make sure it's on time. And then take criticism. Yeah, this is a part of training, research training. Is your ability to take criticism, and this will make your research stronger. Now, I had an argument yesterday with one deputy dean from one private university, where my son was studying there. I was giving them input, right? But she refused to listen. She was blaming everyone. Yeah, the student did not get the student ID for the last 1 year. She started to blame the student. And then I said, can you please shut up and listen to me? I told her, I've been a deputy vice chancellor, I've been a dean, I've been everything. Normally, I would treat my student as a client the moment they leave the classroom. This is about student ID. Can't you treat them as a client? It's been almost 1 year. They have not got a student ID and they cannot proceed with their master's project because they can't have access to the library. Because then she realized that quite a number of the master's students were trying to apply for deferment from the master's project. So she was trying to get them to do it. Then she realized it is because of the student ID. They were having, because they're part-time student, so they were having difficulty accessing the material and whatnot. Then finally I said, can you please shut up and listen? And finally she kept her mouth shut and she said, sorry, thank you very much. And then I think I told her to move on. So in other words, not being able to accept criticism is not good, okay? Especially when your supervisor starts to criticize you. Yeah, but it will make your research stronger. Yeah, take breaks during the day and meet with other researchers. Find time, take a break. If you feel that you're down, totally down, don't give up. Yeah, don't give up. Take a break. Take your family up to Cameron Highland or Genting Highland or wherever, Porrickson, and just forget about your research for a while. Yeah, and then when you're ready, come back. And I put in red. Read, read, and read. This is very important. This is vital, especially for the first 6 months when you're doing the research. Right? Papers, book, journals, iPad, or whatever, have it ready. And so that as you read, you write. As you read, you write. You read, you write. Okay? So that's why it's important to invest in a good gadget. When I was doing my PhD, I spent a little bit of money to buy a good laptop so that I will not lose my all my write-up and everything. It's okay because it is for your future, right? Invest, yeah. Allow yourself time to develop and solidify your academic writing. Remember, DBA or PhD, it is about academic writing. You got to know format and everything. So whatever it is, normally you are given the postgraduate handbook. I think the UNITA DBA student by now, you should have got your DBA handbook. I think I've got it ready. I passed it to before I left. I passed it to the DBA, the new DBA director. And look at this handbook. Normally, it describes what is the format of your writing, what space should you use, what letter size, and want to start writing based on that actual format. Okay, start writing based on the actual format, and then have a clear vision of the research area. Okay, I think this is quite clear. You must know what you are into it. And assessment, when it comes to assessment and Viva preparation, this is very important. I think the original author of this article mentioned 3 P's. I add another P. Okay, assessment and Viva preparation. If you're going for a proposal defense later on or your Viva, these 4 P is very important. Prepare, plan, practice, and pray. Pray a lot. Okay, prepare well. Rehearse it many times. When I was going for my proposal defense, I rehearsed quite a lot with my supervisor. We did a mock Viva. He keep on asking questions, harassing me with all sort of questions, and I must ensure that I'm ready for my Viva. Okay, and then plan well, practice, and of course you have to pray a lot. In fact, I practice my Viva presentation in front of the mirror to get me ready. Okay, I think this is the last slide. So all the best in your research journey. Okay, let me read some of these. I like some of the quotes. If you get tired, learn to rest, not to quit. All right, if you get tired, you're down, just rest. Okay, but don't quit. Okay, I never lose, either I win or learn. Doesn't matter. Okay, I'm sure by the time you finish your DBA, or you may lose a lot of time with the family, but actually you never lose because you learn. We must be willing to let go of the life we plan, so as we have the life which is better life which is waiting for us, right? You have to forego your trip to Europe, for example, for vacation because you want to focus on your research. But once you finish, you have all the time to go to Europe. And the measure of intelligence is the ability to change. Okay, according to Albert Einstein, you must change in order to enhance on your intellectual capability. Everything's hard before it is easy, true. Okay, as I said earlier, our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Confucius. Okay, you're gonna face a lot of hard time, but every time you fall, rise up. Yeah, rise up. And this is very important. If you don't write, nothing will change. In social science, for example, okay, you start writing from day one. You do not wait until you have collected the data. Start from day one. Yeah, if you're doing a PhD research, if you are doing a DBA research, you start from the moment you have gone into research. Start writing. Do not wait until you have collected the data. Now, for science and technical, normally you have to conduct the experiment first, but you can still write the first chapter and prepare it early. Okay, I think I'm about finished. So let's look at some of the questions. Property management, Kualina, my daughter is my inspiration. Okay, PhD, single non-graduate, nothing Perak. Okay. Okay, good. Now at least you are exchanging information. Yes, if you are a PhD student, please start to network with other PhD students. Now I was lucky because when I was in Doctorate, we share a common room. There were about 40 of us in one big room, and that's how we get to know each other. When we stay back in the office at 1 or 2 in the morning, I was quite close to Dean Paulus. Dean Paulus is a guy from London. He likes to park in the Dean's parking space because he says, because the signboard says Dean of the Business School. So I'm Dean. I'm staying in the business school, so I'm Dean of the Business School. The Dean was not happy with him. First semester, okay, good. Now, okay, this is a good way. Topic, leadership, motivation, okay. Yeah, we will email the site to you. Can you share your time management tip? Yes. Normally when you have to one thing, you have to be self-disciplined the moment you start doing your research, and you must make your family also understand what you are doing. This is very important, especially your children. I think your wife is a little bit easier, but your children will have to understand that what you are doing will take some time away from them, but make them understand that it is only temporary. Once you finish your PhD or your GPA, the reward will come in, then you can spend time. But that does not mean that you don't spend time with them, okay? Normally you have to allocate a certain number of hours per day for you to read, right? Cut down on your vacation. You can still go still can go, but do not spend too much. Kalau dulu you travel overseas, now maybe you can go vacation in a country for the next couple, like 2-3 years from now. One, you have finished your, normally when you finish your Viva, you can go wherever you want, okay? So this self-discipline is very important. It's good to have a spouse who understands when you're doing your PhD. I was lucky because my wife was very helpful. She was very motivational. She's also a lecturer. She was also doing her PhD at that time, but on her own. Although she did not finish, but she was very motivational. That's why I say the spouse, your spouse is very important to motivate you. All right. So as I say, find someone and avoid friends who are toxic. This is very important. As you're doing your PhD research, avoid friends who are toxic. If you go to your Facebook, you find someone toxic, unfriend them, because you want someone who can give a positive guide, someone who can motivate you, right? When you're down, they do not try to kill you further. Even when I was in the university, I came back to do my write-up in Malaysia. My dean was good. My dean said, okay, Hassan, for the next 6 months, don't teach. You finish your write-up, right? So that was what I did. I remember I stayed up at the office until 1 in the morning. Okay, it was scary, you know. Going back 1 in the morning, was in the Faculty of Management, Block D07. I remember one incident. I was 1 in the morning. I came up from my office. As I was entering the car, I saw a notice board. I was reading the notice board, and then I can feel something was blowing at my ear. So I ran to the car. Okay. Yes, you must, yeah, right. You must follow the supervisor. If possible, try to discuss with your supervisor to identify the examiner earlier. If your supervisor has strong network, you'll be no problem. Well, that's why it's good to have a senior professor. Hybrid work for a working mother, yes, it's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult, but good to do that. Glad to know, Prof. Yes, I've been to Pakistan, I think 6 or 7 times. I love the food. And one thing I learned from the Pakistani is that their knowledge of research methodology is excellent. Their English is good, right? And I love to supervise students from that. Okay, DBA student. Okay, networking, yes, good. I think one of the benefit of this training session that we have today is an opportunity to network. I think if you can share your research area, this will be very interesting. Example of well-written introduction chapter. Wow, it's good to share right now. Let's see if I can remember. I was looking actually. I was because I just moved to a new house, so everything is still boxed up. And I really moved to a new university, so everything is still boxed up. I was searching just now, but I couldn't find it at the moment. Whatever it is, I will give you my phone number later on. If I can find one, I will share with you. But in fact, there's a lot of theses online, so you can have a look. ESG for private investment, Daniel. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, can you leave? Okay, let me write my email address here. .osm@bhu.edu.my. Okay. Oh, small letter. All the small letter. Some of you may have my phone number. I'll share my phone number as well. I'm sure you introduce yourself first if you send me a WhatsApp message or something, so that I know you attended this particular session. I've received a lot of WhatsApp messages from someone I do not know because they thought I know them. Introduce yourself first. All right. So any question? Anybody would like to ask? You can just switch on your microphone and ask anything. please feel free to do so. I know some of my DBA students here. How can email you? Just find an email to me. I've already shared in my email address. Okay, my office is at Ion headquarters or AV's headquarters. HQ in Glenmore. Okay. I enjoy being there. I see a lot of new cars coming in, new motorbikes. So I feel like I'm in Automotive University. Okay, if there is no question, unable to see your email, I think it's gone up and up. Organizer, is it possible to share my email address? Do I need to unshare? Okay, how do I unshare? Tell you what, let me write it down here. Apalah, whatever it is, you can. Macam mana nak cari? They plus my number has gone up and up. Come to the DRB-HICOM headquarters in Glenmary, Ion headquarters, and you can find me there. Normally, I work 3 days a week, so you can find me on either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Don't come on Saturday, on Thursday or Friday. I will be there. If you need to come, just send me a message. I will be there. Okay, since there is no other question, I will hand this back to you. Saida.
Thank you so much, Prof. So hopefully all have enjoyed the wonderful session for today. And before that, please allow me to announce a few things. As registered participants for our event, you will receive weekly email, updated to keep you engaged and informed. So our team will send you weekly emails, and these updates will also include the first one, a Google link for micro-credential registration, which is optional, and a fee of 100 ringgit only with a Malaysian non-credential statement. And the second one, we will also share with you the slide of the current speakers for every week, right? And also the YouTube link so that you can refresh anytime you would prefer. And starting from next week, we will begin again our session at 9:30 a.m. until 11:30. And we have a break and continue for the 2 p.m. session until 4 p.m. So with that, I would like to thank you to all, and hopefully you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you and goodbye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye-bye.
Ada photo session ke?
Boleh je, Prof? Kita nak on-kan semua mic, is it? On-kan semua camera? Dr. Zhao?
I think the photo session only for the panelists, because this mode of webinar is, there is no for the participants.
Oh ya ke?
Right.
Sudah. So I just take whatever is here.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the organizer.
Okay, for the host, hopefully you can let the Zoom live so that I can reply each of the question from the participants.
Yes, I would love to respond as well, but there are a few
Okay, good.
time to respond. Will the chat content be can we share? Can we have the chat content? That email address kan? If they can respond. This one asking about how do you balance between work and research. Okay, can I leave now? Oh. Wan Su, you speak so beautifully.